The first products were created in the Stone Age, when humans carved stones to make tools. Their purpose? Functional for survival. Nowadays, we see countless mass manufactured products, and many of them don't even really have a purpose for existing. Some products, like our phones, fit seamlessly into our lives because we just use them without even thinking about it. Other products, however, just exist. For what? Oftentimes it's difficult for designers to create relevance for new product. So Dieter Rams, the design legend, came up with 10 principles that we can follow to have more success in our product designs and industrial designs. First up, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Daniel Titchener for giving me the idea for this video. He doesn't know who I am, but I love watching his videos. He makes content about design and lifestyle, and the quality is incredible. So go check him out. But let's get into how you can improve your product and industrial designs by following the 10 principles of good design by Dieter Rams. Principle number 1, good design is innovative. Inventing products that promote efficiency in our lives is something that most designers aim to do. So it's really no coincidence that it's one of the very first things that you should think about and something that you should always keep in mind when you're designing something new. As an example, just think about how the Apple iPod a long time ago completely revolutionized the music and entertainment industry. Or think about how a simple backpack changed the way that we carry things around in our daily routines. Instead of carrying 3 textbooks, 1 camera, your phone, and maybe a notebook and a pencil, you carry around one thing and strap it around your back. Principle number 2, good design makes a product useful. So in my opinion, this can go hand in hand with innovation. And the way I see it is that a product can be useful without being innovative. As an example, think about the Ember temperature controlled mug. It's a mug that keeps your drink warm using the app on your phone, compared to a common hydro flask. The Ember mug keeps your drink warm for an extended period of time until the battery lasts. A hydro flask, on the other hand, does keep your drink warm or cold, but instead of using technology, it uses its natural chemical properties. The tech behind the Ember mug is really useful for a large majority of coffee drinkers, but a lot of people still prefer the common hydro flask, or maybe they just don't want to fork out the money to buy an Ember mug. So innovation, in my opinion, comes at a much larger scale. It's also important to note that if a product is supposed to be functional, but it's not useful, then it's kind of worthless. Principle number 3, good design is aesthetic. No matter how subjective personal taste and aesthetic is, I think that we can all agree that we're more likely to use a product if we like the way it looks. I don't really think there's much more to be said about this one. Principle number 4, good design makes a product understandable. This is arguably one of the most important concepts to understand when it comes to designing new product. I think that innovative products have been around for long enough to have identifiable shapes and textures that users can identify in a split second and know what a product is and how to use it. Because I was just talking about coffee, take a mug as an example. We all know that the curved extension on the side with the hole in it is where we put our fingers through to pick up the mug. I know that's incredibly obvious, but a mug was designed at one point. So these patterns and shapes that allow us to understand what it is are called user affordances. When I was watching Daniel Titchener's video about the 10 principles, I loved his example of doors not having push or pull indicators. I think we all know what he's talking about. I think it's a perfect example, so thank you, Daniel. So I guess the main point that I'm trying to get across to you is that you should never, ever assume that a user will know how to use your product or what it is. And believe me, I have made that mistake so many times. Principle number 5, good design is unobtrusive. An example of an unobtrusive product is something that we use on a daily basis without even thinking about it. like a watch. It's on our wrist during the day, and we don't feel it, we don't see it, we don't recognize it until we need to use it to check the time. It's a quick and convenient mechanism that only exists in your mind when you need to use it. In my opinion, a watch is a perfectly useful, unobtrusive, and innovative product. Principle number 6. Good design is honest. A well-designed product does what it's supposed to do. So again, with one of Daniel Titchener's examples from his video, a couch that looks comfier than it actually is. That would be a product that is not honest. Also, probably something that we can all agree on and something that we've experienced. A well-designed product has the consumer's and the user's best interest in mind. It doesn't embellish on itself. It doesn't try to be something that it's not. It doesn't try to be better than it is because its competitors are better than itself. It just does what it's supposed to do. Principle number 7. Good design is long-lasting. Now this might just be one of my favorite concepts because I love it, especially when leather goods patina over time and you get that nice discoloration and aging effect on wallets and bags and all kinds of leather goods. Even though I consider myself a leather craftsman, I think we can all agree that products that stay with us for a longer period of time feel more useful and part of our lives. Products that feel more part of our daily routines and part of our lives in general are much more unobtrusive than those that don't, because we get used to the product, we get used to using it and looking at it. It becomes a seamless experience. And that is why, in my opinion, long-lasting products are better than those that aren't. Principle number 8. Good design is thorough down to the last detail. Whether you love them or you hate them, Apple is just one of those companies that thinks about every single detail, which is why I think so many people love them and trust them. I believe that trust in a company or a product comes from the sheer amount of effort that goes into designing that product, without leaving any features or functions in question for the user to have to decide and figure out on their own. Principle number 9. Good design is environmentally friendly. I think it's safe to assume that more sustainable products nowadays are desired by the average consumer than those that aren't. This encourages a lot of companies to greenwash their products. In other words, fake sustainability or kind of stretching the sustainability in order to sell more product. This endless cycle of this sea of companies trying to advertise their product as sustainable and environmentally friendly just makes the actual environmentally friendly product stand out. It's also important to note that if a product can be reproduced and recycled over and over and over again, it's more likely to last a longer period of time, because those that aren't will eventually run out of resources and not be able to continue production. Also, just who doesn't like environmentally friendly products? Principle number 10. Good design is as little design as possible. When I'm designing a product, I tend to lean towards the minimalist side of things, just because I like the aesthetic. A minimalist product tells you what it's meant for and doesn't really try to be anything else or do anything more than it needs to. A lot of products that I bought recently have other components and parts and features that it doesn't really need, and I end up just being a little bit confused. And I think that comes from designers overcomplicating a product idea. It does what it's supposed to do, it's honest, and it just works. Designing a product without the clutter just makes everything flow more, especially in the design process. It's easier to design a product that has 1 or 2 really useful features instead of those plus 10 or 12 more that might not even be used. Dieter Rams said less but better. Put more resources and allocate more time into designing the more prominent features of a product rather than spreading themselves too thin and designing more than what's actually needed. At the end of the day, I don't believe that these principles will guarantee success, but they're definitely something to think about when you're designing something new. It's also important to note that good design is always going to be subjective. So these rules can be thought of more as suggestions rather than rules. If you want to learn more about the design process, I've got an entire playlist on my YouTube channel dedicated just for that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.